Hey folks, welcome back to Addiction TV once again, and today's video is dedicated to a master of horror. Rest in peace, Wes Craven. One of the kings of horror, one of the best horror directors of our time, and it's so sad that he's gone. You know, it really sucks. Rest in peace. Today's video is going to be my ranking of the Scream movies. All four of them. One of my favorite franchises. Scream is actually what got me into slasher films. Scream surrounds a woman named Sidney Prescott, a young woman terrorized by Ghostface. So let's get into this ranking right here on Addiction TV. So let's get this Scream ranking going. Coming in at number 4 is going to be Scream 3. By my opinion, the worst in the franchise on many different levels. For one, the blood and gore was so toned down. So toned down. I understand why. You know, I read that the studio really wanted Scream 3 to back away from so much violence because of what was going on in the world at the time. You know, terrorist attacks, stuff like that. You know, they wanted to back away from the violence. Another thing about Scream 3 that I thought was really corny was the, 2037 voice changer. Like, the futuristic voice changer that Ghostface is using in Scream 3. He could sound like Dewey. He could sound like Sidney. He could sound like fucking Gale Weathers. He could sound like everybody. And I just thought that was a little corny. You know, the acting in Scream 3 was fine. There was actually not too many characters. I don't think there was any characters I did dislike in this movie. I even like Roman. Turns out in Scream 3, Roman is Sidney's brother. And all these killings in the past 2 movies has happened because of him. Because it turns out their mother was a slut and slept with Sidney's boyfriend's father back in the first Scream film. And I just didn't think that was a good way to say that it was his fault. He was the one that caused there to be a motive for Billy and Stu, and I don't know. Scream 3 was bad. The sound effects of the killings, just bad. So, fuck Scream 3. Okay, moving on to number 3. My number 3rd spot in the Scream ranking is going to be Scream 4. So Scream 4, starring Neve Campbell, David Arquette, Courtney Cox, Hayden Panettiere, Emma Roberts, was a decent film. I will say, one of the things I really did like about Scream 4 was taking it back to the crazy kills. The blood, the gore, the guttings, you know. I'm glad they took it back to that. The opening of Scream 4, I kind of enjoyed it, where they tricked you twice in the opening. You're watching Stab 5, then you're watching Stab 6, then it goes into Scream 4, and you know, Scream 4, it had its problems, but all around it was definitely better than Scream 3. They definitely stepped it up for it. The acting was good. I don't know how I felt about Sidney's cousin Jill being the killer. It's kind of cool to see a female slasher going that crazy. Don't fuck with Mrs. Voorhees, Jill. But anyways, Scream 4, it was cool. It could have been better, but it was acceptable. I liked it. So that is my 3rd spot, Scream 4. Coming in at number 2 is going to be Scream 2. Scream 2 actually got me in my feels. I was so young when it came out, and that opening scene with Jada Pinkett Smith and Omar Epps in the movie theater when they get killed, man, that shit had me shaking. It gave me goosebumps. I was just like, oh my gosh. And I'm black too, you know what I mean? They were the first to die and they was black, so you know, I'm like, damn. Alrighty then, Omar Epps and Jada Pinkett Smith. But no, I like the story, how Sidney's off in college now. Dewey's no longer a cop. He walks with a limp, you know what I mean? Gale Weathers is still the same old Gale Weathers. She's a bitch trying to get the scoop on every story. I liked the Greek feeling, you know, in the climax of the film. They had the Greek masks, and they had the Ghostface revealing himself to be Mickey at the theater. That was pretty cool. I loved Scream 2. I still don't think it was the best, but it hit the number 2 spot in my ranking because it just felt so much more like the original than 4 and 3 did. And, you know, the stabbing sounds were just ear-piercing. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh my goodness. And it came so quick. And I'm surprised that it was I can't even talk right now, man. Because I love these movies so much. I'm surprised it was as good as it was, because it came so quick after the first one. So, all right, moving on to my number 1 spot, and it's gonna be Scream, the first one, starring Neve Campbell, David Arquette, Courtney Cox, Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, Rose McGowan, Jamie Kennedy, so many people. Drew Barrymore. Oh man, that scene, man. The first 10 minutes of Scream, oh man. When I first saw Scream, I was only 6 years old. It came out in 96. I was 6 years old. 96 or 97, whatever. I was 6, and I was terrified of this film. I watched it with my mom. She was scared too. She's a young mother. I'm her baby. We were both scared. She was so scared. I remember she even slept with a knife under her bed after we watched that movie. I remember my dad called me, because my mom and my dad were separated at the time. He called me. He was asking me what I was doing, how I was doing. I told him I was watching Scream. So he kept prank calling me and fucking with me. 6 years old, messing with my head. It ain't right. But it's okay. Love you, Dad. Love you, Mom. Even though y'all fucked up my head and y'all made me love slasher films by making me watch Scream. But, now you know the story of Scream. I ain't even got to break it down for you guys. And if you haven't seen Scream, I don't even think you're American. I mean, you've seen... So many people get Scream confused with Scary Movie. I'm like, please, shut up. No. Just shut up. You know, Scream, sure. It was originally titled Scary Movie before the company changed it to Scream. But... still, you know, not Scary Movie. That's the Wayans brothers. Okay? Understand that shit. Understand me and believe me. But no, coming in at number 1 is Scream. Scream is what got me into the slasher genre. And rest in peace, Wes Craven. He directed those films so well, man. And that opening scene with Drew Barrymore, even watching it now, I could see that movie 100 times, and still watching it now, it still gives me goosebumps. It still makes me feel so bad for her parents, and it's like, that's what I like about Scream, is it's brutal, funny as hell, it gets you in your feels, you understand Sydney's pain. I couldn't imagine having a situation that I'm in, like Sydney and my mother going through stuff like that. You know what I mean? So coming in at number 1 is the first Scream. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do you agree with my ranking? Tell me your guys' favorite in your order down in the comments. I would love to hear it. I love this franchise. I can't tell you how many times I was Ghostface for Halloween growing up. I didn't have the bleeding mask though. I always wanted it, but I seen my friends have it. It was just too much of a mess. Go down, like, subscribe. Let me know in the comments your favorite order in the Scream franchise. Until next time, you guys, Addiction TV.